Hello and welcome to Azariah's Studio. My name is Sarah. I am the artist and designer behind Azariah's Studio. So this is a traditional assembly of an Estonian style shawl. All right, you've done the hard work. You have your entire body of your shawl done. You have both pieces of the edging done, and now it's time to sew them on. This particular shawl is called Cherry Hills, and it is time to start sewing on the edging. I need to pick an end of the edging to begin with. Now, the edgings are pretty much symmetrical, at least in my patterns. What's going to make the difference is if it's this end or this end, is which side is the front, because I want the front to be facing upwards. Sometimes this can come down to preference. However, if there's noops involved, there are not noops in this one, then it's going to come down to the actual right and wrong side. This one's going to come down to preference. I like the way this lays. I don't like this as much. So we're going to go with this corner. I'm pretty sure. Yes, this is the corner. I have my two corners. Yay! Now I prepare my edging pieces before I sew them on. So I have my edging piece. I've got some stitch markers, the removable kind. Not going to need all of those. It's the bag I've got. Okay, let's start with the first one. I want to find the middle of this edging piece. So I'm going to match up the two ends here. And instead of just picking it up and running my hand across, I'm going to match point for point. So I know I'm actually at the middle and I haven't stretched one end of the fabric longer than the other or anything like that. So point for point. All right, and that brings us to right here being the center. I'm just going to take this stitch marker and slide it in there. I am going to put it in this particular stitch, knowing that it could be on either side of that particular stitch. It's just trying to get us in the ballpark. This sewing on is not that tight in tolerance. There's definitely room for some fudging. How much fudging is up to you. How much can you stand? How much work are you willing to rip out? Because it's not as simple as tinking back or pulling out the needles and just pulling the yarn. And it's also not as simple as getting a seam ripper and ripping out a seam. It is just a few stitches at a time. You know, you take the tapestry needle out, you pull a few stitches loose, and then you undo it. It's probably more time consuming to rip the stitches out when you've made a mistake in the work at this stage than it is to sew it. So if it's not fudging that you can live with, do it. But if you can look at it and go, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Or if you can rip just a little ways and fix it and fudge it there, that would be a whole lot better than ripping out the entire side or the entire top and redoing all of it. All right, now I'm going to go back to my two free ends. My numbers are from the graphic that I will show here in just a few minutes. This one here, because this is the right side, so this one is going to go up or down a side. So those are the numbers I'm going to use. It's the numbers from the side. And again, the numbers on the graphic are the numbers that coincide with the edging, and each of those numbers, one of them, like so a 3, a 2, whatever the number is, one number goes with one stitch on the shawl body. Okay, so I'm going to count how many stitches I need to use on this edging before the repeat section starts. And I have 22. The repeat section is what is in parentheses. So now I'm just going to count 22 bound off stitches. I'm going to mark stitch number 22. All right. So from here to almost the middle marker, we're going to work that repeat, but not quite to the middle marker, because the repeat ends short of the middle marker. And there's another set of numbers on the other side of the parentheses. I'm going to count how many stitches that is now. It is 19. So now I'm going to count 19 stitches from this. And mark that, remembering that these are just landmarks to get us in the ballpark. I may need to use this stitch for the last bit of the repeat, or the last bit of the repeat could end here or here. It's okay. It's just to get us in the ballpark. All right, and then after the middle marker, I will then be working the top or the bottom. So the first set of numbers before the repeat there, I'm going to add that up, and it's 25. You can see that none of these numbers are the same. It's because things don't work out perfectly. It's just to get things to look even. Doesn't mean they necessarily are even. When you're dealing with row repeats and then stitch repeats, it doesn't come out that way. I'm going to mark this one. All right, and we're going to go to the very end. But we haven't marked yet. That's not it. This one. We haven't marked this one yet. And I'm going to count the number of stitches on the other side of that repeat. And this one has 28. Right, 28 right here. Okay, I don't need any more stitch markers, so I'm going to put those away. Okay. Don't get rid of your numbers. You're still going to need your numbers. So keep those somewhere that you can see them. Now on this piece, I have one of the edgings already sewn on, but we're just going to pretend it's not there for right now. So there's a thread hanging back here and what have you. There's just different parts of the process that I had to do before I could shoot this, because I wasn't remembering everything, and I remembered more the more that I worked on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad we have a second piece to make another video. All right, so this is where we started. So this is going up one of the sides, and this was, I don't know, 22 stitches or something. So the number of numbers, I know that's really weird, but the number of digits, we'll go with that, before the repeat begins. So before the parentheses, just count how many numbers there are. There are 13. So now I'm going to use a crochet hook to show you. These are the slipped stitches that you want to sew these edge bind off stitches to. So for 3 of these, it's one of these, and then 3 of these, and then one of these, and then 2 of these, and one of these, and so on, as the instructions have told you. Okay, so I'm going to count 13, and I'm counting this corner because I've already used it once, but I'm counting it. So okay, I'm going to leave that in there. And I'm going to take this marker, open it back up, and just attach it here. Again, this is just a signpost. This is not perfection. All right. Not detrimental here if this guy ends up twisted, okay? Because you can just untwist it as you go. The next thing I'm going to do is find the middle, which is the next stitch marker right here. No, that's not true. It's the second stitch marker. This one's the middle. This is not the middle. Because remember, we had the middle one, and then we went to each section on either side. So skip the next stitch marker, go to the second one, find the corner on the shawl body, and attach the second stitch marker to the corner of the shawl body. Now, go count the digits on the other side of the repeat. This time it's 10. Okay. Get that skipped marker and attach it to that stitch. Right there. What I have now done is I have attached the edging and the shawl together in multiple places. Okay, I didn't attach this corner. If this is your first one and you want to attach it, go ahead. I know that's where it's going to start, and that's actually my next spot, so I'm not going to attach it. But from here to here, I would work exactly what the paper says, and it's not a repeat. Each one is different. Then from this stitch marker all the way that long haul, on my directions it says repeat 52 times, to this stitch marker is going to be the same repeat. So instead of counting and making hash marks, you just work the stitch repeat over and over and over. Now, if it helps you to move stitch markers and to make hash marks or however it is, that's totally fine. It was taking up too much time for me. And that was part of what I was remembering, is that I didn't actually count all the way to 52 repeats. I laid signposts, so to speak. All right, now let's lay the signpost for the top or the bottom. It's one end of the shawl or the other. It's the same difference. Okay, so I've got the corner put together here with the center. So the first set of digits is 13 again before the repeat. These are bind offs. So this time we'll be putting bind off to bind off together. All right. And then we work the repeat. This one's only 25 times, but it's also much longer. The 52 time repeat is only 4 digits. This one is 8 or 9 digits. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and there's a bunch of ones in there. So yeah. Okay. So then the number of digits after the parentheses is 13 again. You saw that there was a little bit more balance in these 4 numbers. And that's just because we want to get the corner to be right here in the corner. It may take a few more stitches that we have to squeeze into that corner in some areas than in others. But this is to give extra fabric to turn the corner. Let me show you the corner that I've already completed. Here we are. This is the corner that I've already completed. And you can see it's got some extra fabric in there. But when I go and block it, it's going to block out nicely. All right, and that is the prep and pre-work for setting up the edging for your Estonian lace shawl. All right, so the first step is 3. You want your edge, so we're picking up the edging. You want your tail to be in the back. So I'm going to pick up the back here to begin with. Go through both loops of that bind off. And you want to go through the same direction. So from the back to the front both times. Don't go this way on the next one. Go from the back to the front for all 3 of those stitches. I'm going to go ahead and pull that through quite a ways. Leave enough hanging to weave in. Come over to the body of the shawl and pick up 1 stitch. This way. This one's not wanting to behave. All right. And so I went the same direction on that one as well. You're going to see it's going to look a little bit like lacing your shoes. All right, the next one is 3 again. So I ended in this one right there. So I'm going to come into this one. There's 1, 2. And things are going to get a little tangled. That's just how it's going to go. You just got to be patient with it. 3. This is good TV watching if you don't have to like watch the show. Okay, and then 1. Make sure you don't split anything. And we're going to do 3 again. In my patterns, 3 is the most you'll ever do. And this is only because it's on a corner. You need more fabric in a corner so that it turns properly and will lay flat after blocking. All right, and then we're going to do 1 on the shawl body. Okay. Find my end. Here's my end. I'm going to hold the 2 pieces with my fingers so that I can pull the yarn through the rest of the way. You want to do this gently. If it's too difficult, come further down and pull through less stitches. And it's going to snug it up right there. Now, you see it didn't snug this. When I go to weave in this end, I'm going to weave it in up here and snug it, and then use this end to sew. There's going to be a seam here to sew this seam, and then that will close that. Okay, we've done our 3s. All right. Now we have 3 sets of 2. We're in the shawl body, so we're going to go back to the edging. Already done that stitch, so we're gonna, and if something looks weird, like this looks a little odd, just unloosen it just a little. You can always loosen it back up. It's not a big deal. Done that one, so yes, we're gonna go into this one next. We're doing 2. Doing 1. We're gonna do this 3 times. This, Go in that one. I'm going to go in this one. 1, 2. This is the third time. If you're unsure how many times you've done it, you can look. So since I last tightened it, I've done 1, 2, 3. So that is the third time. You're going to have to let your needle hang and the yarn unwind on occasion because it is going to get tangled up. I'm going to leave this tail out of the way, and I'm going to hold on to this part here where I pulled through earlier and gently pull through again. You want to pull it just closed, because if it's like your shoes or certain kinds of seams, if you pull too tight, it's going to make all this real small, and then you will not be able to block it. So just give it a nice tug back this direction. Remember your end down here. You'll be able to neaten things up from the other side. All right. Now we're down to the ones. Bunches of, let's see, how many were there? All right, so 7 times. 1, 1, 1, 1, 7 times. Okay, this is that last shawl stitch now. I've done 7. Gonna snug it up. Hanging on down here. Similar to mattress stitch, if you've ever done that. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And just straighten it back out a bit. All right, now we're starting that repeat that was in the parentheses where there was a 2 and then a 1 and a 1 and a 1. And that has to be repeated 52 times. So we begin with a 2. 2 in the edging. One in the shawl. We don't do anything there. We do 1 in the edging. One in the shawl. We can move that guy. One in the edging. One in the shawl. One in the edging. And 1 in the shawl. But at the end of each repeat, I'm going to go ahead and cinch it up. If you find it too tedious to do it at the end of every repeat, because this one's only 4 of the body stitches, you could definitely do 2 repeats before cinching it up, maybe 3. Be careful with your yarn, like I said. And that's how you sew on your edging to your shawl body for an Estonian style shawl. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Feel free to email me, message me. I'm happy to help. All right, I have all the edges sewn onto the shawl, both of them, and I've already sewn up one corner. I'm going to sew up the second corner now, woven in all the ends, and as you can see here, I've tied a knot so that I know I've wove that one in and I don't do it again. I will not clip them until after blocking. That way in the stretching and blocking, they don't just pop out. They can be clipped after they've adjusted to the blocked size. So this is the back side, in case you couldn't tell. So these are going to go right sides together. And I've got one of the ends that was left long, as the directions said. And I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down. So I'm going to go this way. Remember, we did not slip the edge stitches on the edging. We worked them, we knit them as normal. So there's not slip stitches to go into, but there's ridges to match. I have also changed my needle. I have gone from the bent one to the straight one now because I find this one easier for sewing these together. And basically it's just a whip stitch. And I'm going in between the bumps. I don't want to go too far down and grab too much. Just whip stitch it together, which means I'm always going the same direction. I am going from the back to the front. You can go from the front to the back. That is completely fine as long as you do the same one all the time. Theoretically, everything should match up at the end because there should have been the same number of rows. Things happen, not that there's more rows, but just that the knitting laid weird, and it may not match up exactly at the end. And you know what? That's okay. You can fudge it and make do, and then use the end that's left to make it look nice in the corner. And blocking's going to cover a lot of mistakes. You may want to make sure you go all the way down to the very bottom of the corner. Remember, it gets thicker down here at the bottom because you were casting on with 2 strands of yarn. Okay, that's it for the whip stitching, and that's what it looks like on the front. And this end just needs to be woven in now. Another thing I want to show you, this is where I sewed the edging on to the cast on stitches. And if you'll look at your cast on after you've done your rows, you can see you've got some holes to go into. You're not going to find like a definite ridge line like you did on the sides or on the bind off. It's going to look like this because remember, this is the same cast on. So, where's my needle? Okay, we'll use a crochet hook. So this is the same look of the edge that I sewed to here. And it, like I said, you're not going to find 2. This is going to look like 2, remember, because we cast on with 2 strands. But you're just going to go into this hole. That's going to be your 1 shawl stitch. Is those ones. But that will be plenty. It'll hold just fine. It'll look fine. And that is the sewing for an Estonian lace shawl. Thank you for watching. Happy making.